Hi, and welcome to Future Focus, a financial strategies podcast where we make the complex simple. My name is Troy Branch, and I'm joined here by my colleague, Keali French.
Hello.
And Jacob Messick.
Troy, it's game day today.
It's game day today, buddy.
Game on.
Right? So what Jacob is referring to is we decided that we're going to have a little bit of fun with the jargon jar, which we do almost every episode. And if you want to sort of understand the genesis of the jargon jar, you got to go all the way back to like episode 2 or 3.
Yeah, it was probably real early.
It was really early where we decided, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we could sort of remind the viewer, soon to be listener, we'll talk about that at the end, remind the viewer / listener that we understand that we can trend into technical speak and stuff that makes you kind of throw your hands up and go, here we go. I don't know what the heck they're even talking about. I don't understand that word. And they take for granted that everyone understands it, i.e. jargon. So we have our jargon jar, and every time we sort of hold ourselves accountable to anytime that we use jargon, sometimes it's disputed. This one, right? Sometimes it's disputed, but we try to hold ourselves accountable to the jargon that we take for granted. But that can be very helpful for the viewer / listener to understand. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to end up, so we're going to focus on not putting pebbles into the jargon jar. And then what would it be? It's always something. There's always some athletic event that's coming to an end. It wouldn't be us if we didn't turn it into a competition. So we're going to have two results. One is going to be the least amount of pebbles into the jargon jar. That's kind of normal.
Okay.
The other one is going to be a points contest that I'm going to explain to everyone in and around the jargon jar. We're going to play a game. I got to make sure because we sort of wordsmithed this a couple of different times, but we're going to play a game called Pardon My Jargon. Can you define that? Okay. So here's the objective. I kind of already explained the objective, but we have to bring our intrepid producer Cassie on and to help us again. You guys remember Cassie from a couple episodes ago where she was the disembodied voice that we wanted to hear, and my goal was to try to make her laugh, if I'm being honest.
Cassie, can you give us a hello?
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
There she is.
There's Cassie. So Cassie's going to be our moderator / host for us today. Cassie is going to. There's a predetermined list that we've all got a chance to look at. Some of us, a little later than others.
Some of us studied a little more than others.
Some of us a little later than others. But there's a predetermined list that Cassie is going to randomly pick from, not in the order of the list. Cassie's going to randomly pick from and going to give us a word.
I feel like I'm in that dream where you have a pop quiz and you haven't studied for it. It's kind of how I'm feeling at the moment. So we'll see how this goes.
So Cassie's going to read off a word. Our goal is to define the word or define and describe the word with the least amount of jargon as possible. Okay? So, and we're going to have obviously the viewer can't see it and the listener can't hear it, but we have our production crew in the back and they're going to be our judges. So bribes were okay. We're going to see how we do. So here's the way it's going to work. We're going to go in snake order. Are we start with me or we start with Jacob?
I mean, I rock, paper, scissors you. One winner takes all day.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot.
You guys think too much
1, 2, 3, shoot. God, yes. All right. So Troy's going to start. And we'll go in serpentine fashion. So for all you non-fantasy football enthusiasts, it'll be me. It'll be 1, 2, 3, and then it'll be 1, 2, 3. Keali Joe sits in the middle, and there you go, all the time. So always in the middle. So we'll do that. We'll get through as many rounds as we possibly can. Cassie will give us time, and on the last round, whenever she determines that it's the last round or we are out of words, the point value should be doubled.
So just one clarification though: for each round, the lowest person that wins, do we gotta put one in the jar?
So that is correct. So yes, the production crew will be helping us out. They've been provided scorecards, and they'll be providing the scores for each one of us through all the rounds. So it's actually going to be like pretty, like it's kind
a little
of
intimidating.
It's kind of like, I'm standing up in front of the Russian judge after the long program in the Olympics, right? So the production crew will be helping us. They have scores of either 100, 200, 300, and it'll be based on the least amount of jargon and understandability according to the individual judge. All right. Did I miss anything?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let me make sure. No, I'm not going any further.
I was going to say, make sure you turn that off. As people notice, there are no notes.
This is
a closed
book exam. So I'm going to turn this off. I think I got everything. I don't have to turn anything back on until I get to the outro, which
it's a little different
can't come soon enough
of an episode where it's like I'm not used to not having at least some notes to make sure we're on track. But
toss you into the deep end.
Luckily, you go first.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's awesome. All right. So that's off. You can see, right? See, that's off.
It's off.
Right? All right. Okay. Here we go.
Round one.
Pardon my jargon. Can you define that? Cassie?
Okay, here we go. Troy, your first term to define is rebalancing.
Okay.
Yes.
Rebalancing. So rebalancing is what occurs in a investment account where certain categories were selected at the beginning of the year, let's say, and those categories through growth and loss and throughout the year, they end up being a little bit different from a percentage standpoint. Let's say it's 50%, 40%, 10%. Right? Those accounts through gain and loss will end up at a different percentage. Right? The person will either sell or buy so that those accounts end up back in alignment at 50, 40, 10 in my example. So it's making everything I can't use the word.
You can
use that word.
I will allow the
Use it.
It's moving the accounts back into balance at a predetermined time, usually a year's time.
Survey says.
All right. I'll take that out of the gate.
What are you gonna do if it's like all different one? All right,
just add it up.
1,000. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
It's 1,000 points.
All right.
It's
you got
hard.
the hardest one right off the bat.
Keali Joe, your term to define is risk tolerance.
Risk tolerance. And so, okay, this is going to be hard. Can I use the word risk?
We'll see. I mean, it's a little early in the definition of it.
You can use it because I'll probably have to do the same. I feel like this is perfect because this one ties into Troy's, but...
So it's how comfortable you are with the risk of an investment moving in one direction or the other. So it's I guess I can't say how tolerant you are for risk, but it's how comfortable you are with your risk of your investment moving in one way or the other. Yes.
What?
Yes.
Sorry.
That for everybody at home, that was 1,500 points.
Someone bribed the judges.
That's
I mean, you didn't even talk about Dow markets or anything, so that's all right.
It's supposed to make the complex simple.
All right, Cassie.
Okay, Jacob.
What you got for me? Simple.
Your term to define is asset allocation.
Okay. So that goes with risk tolerance and rebalancing. So asset allocation is how you are selecting the investments that you have inside, whether it's your retirement account, maybe it's a taxable account. So whether it's stocks and bonds, large cap, small cap. So it's all based on what type of investment options you are choosing inside of your investment savings.
Survey says.
Oh my God.
Ooh, ouch. 100,
Just
200,
taking
300,
shots.
400. That's 700 points.
That's all right. I got vacation on the on the mind. They're not going to phase
So
me.
it's funny because those three kind of
All together.
Yeah, when you like you think about your risk tolerance when you're asset allocating dollars and then you rebalance to bring it back in order.
It starts with the risk tolerance.
Yeah.
That leads you to what type of asset allocation? Is it 80%?
It's that 50-40 like
Is
that,
it 80% stocks,
50-40,
20% bonds, 70-30, 60-40, and then every quarterly, semi-annual, annually, you're rebalancing.
You're rebalancing.
So it's tough trying to keep it simple without diving too much in the jar. So I guess after round one, 1,500, 1,000, 700. So I think they probably saw I had way too many pebbles outside the jar. So pebble goes in the jar for me. Jacob loses round one.
Okay.
That's okay.
All right.
You got
On to round two. Jacob again.
Man,
Okay,
I
Jacob.
thought we were friends, Cassie.
We are. Okay, your next term to define is fiduciary.
All right, so that is someone that is working in your best interest. So a lot of times you're thinking of an individual like a certified financial planner or an attorney, a trust officer. So someone who is working with an individual client, but they are making decisions in the best interest of that client.
Survey says. And
All right.
almost perfect score.
You do the math for?
1,400.
All right, so there we go. They must have felt bad after giving me a low score last time.
The bribe's starting to pay off.
Okay, Keali Joe, your term is volatility.
Volatility. Okay, so volatility is how much your investment moves up and down. So think of a stock in the stock market. It's when you move up, when you move down. How far you move up versus how far you move down. That's volatility.
Someone was studying.
Almost.
Yeah, feels like someone like crammed last night.
1,300. I looked at these like a half an hour before this, by the way.
Right.
But what's nice, so far, hopefully those that are listening are like, all right, these are terms that you hear or see on a regular basis. So hopefully it's all right. This provides a little bit of understanding. Okay, this is what that means very simply.
All right, Troy, you ready for your next term?
Yeah, I'm probably getting like the Keynesian. Anyway, go ahead.
Sequence of returns risk.
What are we doing? What are we doing? She gets volatility. He gets fiduciary. I get sequence of returns.
You got this.
That's easy. We've spent so many episodes talking about it. You should be able to talk
smell
about
a fix. Okay, sequence of returns. It's the concept, yeah. So it's the concept that when you're looking at retirement and you're trying to determine like how much money or whether you can spend money or to what extent you can spend money in retirement, it's that period, especially right at the beginning of your retirement. If you experience loss, if you experience loss at the beginning of that period in retirement, that creates sequence of returns risk. It's not a very good definition.
I think you just used the term inside your answer.
Well, hold on.
Well, no, he
Oh.
said that's sequence of returns risk. So he was just saying that's the definition.
Yeah.
I'll give it to him.
All right.
It was like the script spelling bee. Like you say the word afterwards.
Survey
That's not very good.
says
That was not very good.
No, I think, if I, for that.
that's
Well, you guys didn't
500
have to
points.
agree with me.
Pebble in the jar.
Okay, now I can say sequence of returns is like when you take out those dollars, like it's greatly impacted if you're taking it out from an account that's experiencing loss, right? So and what the studies have showed that if you like when you take dollars out of the account, especially early in retirement, it greatly affects the long-term viability of that account.
Yeah, it has more harmful impact potential than if those down markets, the downturns of the market happen later on in retirement. If you hits you early, it's more of an impact.
Right.
So,
it's one of the reasons why we talk about, like, usually when we're talking about secrets of returns, we're talking about being able to pull dollars from different buckets that maybe aren't the account that's being affected,
or as tied to the stock market,
tied to being stock market, like life insurance or
an annuity, and pulling out that income from it, and something that's less correlated to
the market.
Yep.
Go see that episode.
I don't know if
We
less
did an
correlated
episode
is necessarily not jargon, but I'll let you go with it because you're trying to help me out.
on it. Don't forget your
Yeah,
pebble.
you still got to throw one in. So
Yeah. Well, hold on. Hold on. Whoa.
You got the lowest score for the round.
it was 500, 1,300.
That was the first part. Oh, that was the end of the round. So I got to go again.
Yep.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yes, you do. Okay, but if that one was too hard,
No.
So I guess after 2 rounds, Troy has 1,500. Jacob has 2,100. Keali Joe has 2,800. So, all right, we got a little catch up to do.
All right.
Okay, Troy. This time you can define diversification.
You got this.
Okay.
What'd you do to make the production
Can
team
I
mad?
steal this one from him?
No.
It is so easy to
No.
It is
No.
We'll see if you give the answer I would give.
It is putting dollars in different. It's putting dollars in different accounts from not only from a style perspective, like Jacob said, stocks, bonds, but also from a tax perspective, taxable, tax deferred, tax free perspective. So almost did it. you put your dollars into different accounts because those accounts are going to react differently. Oftentimes they're going to act opposite of one another, so that you aren't concentrated in one area.
Survey says.
Nope.
If I give a better answer, can I get bonus
No.
points? If I say
No
not
bonus
putting
points.
all your eggs in one basket,
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Just don't put all your eggs
give
in
me
one
any bonus
basket.
points?
That's
No.
probably the best way. Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it. Not
Okay.
putting all your eggs in one basket.
2, 4, 6, 8, and then we have 1,100.
All right. I'm surprised you didn't think
Don't
of
put
that.
all your eggs in
Don't
one
put all your eggs
basket.
in one basket.
That's 100% what I would have
But
You got this, though.
it's easy to
You
be
got the hard
it's easy to
ones.
be the Monday morning quarterback.
No, that's all right. I mean, like, I don't know why are we talking about eggs? But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, Keali Joe, your term is tax deferred.
Tax deferred. So it's when you're not paying taxes today, but you're paying taxes at some point in the future.
She studied.
Yes.
She
1,500.
studied.
I mean, for 1,500, I would think the answer would include saying, for example, like a 401k
Hey,
or an
it's a definition,
IRA,
not an
but-
illustration.
That's the thing. Anyway,
Okay, Jacob, your term is liquidity.
Oh, yes.
That's a great
This
one.
is just how easy it is to turn something into cash. So
okay, you almost said a liquid. You're going to have to put that in.
I was going to say something, how fast you can turn something into cash.
Right.
So
Perfect score,
right.
1,500.
well, that means Troy throws another pebble in the jar.
They're picking on me, ladies and gentlemen.
After 3, 4,300, 2,900, 2,600. It's still a battle for second place.
Hi everyone, Cassie here. In the excitement of the game, the score tally was incorrect. At this point, Jacob actually has 3,600 points. We'll share the final scores again at the end of the episode. Now let's get back to the game.
Second place
Hey,
isn't
keep in
bad.
mind the last round's worth double points.
All right.
Okay, Jacob, your term is cost basis.
So that is...
Go on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how easy. So that is I'm trying to think of the easy way to describe it. It is what you paid for something, or it's it's the portion that it's your non-taxable taxable portion of something. So it could be, the premiums that you put. I'm butchering this one because I'm trying to think of the easiest way to say it. I'm gonna have to phone a friend because
I can feel it. I can feel the votes on this one.
I know. No, it's.
I think the way you started is probably the best way to go.
yeah.
I'm gonna phone a friend on this. I'm gonna get butchered on this one, but what?
Okay.
Go with the way you started.
Yes.
I mean, it's your was I saying the non-taxable or your premium? What your
before
purchase
that,
payment?
simpler.
It's what you paid
What
for.
you paid
It's
for
what
it.
you paid for something.
Yes.
And
There
so
you
that
go.
way, when you go to sell something, what you paid is non-taxable. So
Right.
and then you only are taxed on the gain.
The problem that we have is we're always thinking. The hardest part about this is confining it to just the definition of the word and not what basis usually
Looks like.
leads into the other conversation where we talk about basis, and then we're going to talk about step up. Like there's all these things that we know it leads to. So just confining yourself to the definition is really, really hard.
Well, because there's the basis with non-qualified annuities
Right.
and life insurance, and with investments, with a taxable count, and then with property and things you own. So it's easy to describe all that, but in the general sense, it's
what you paid for it.
What you paid for it,
Yeah.
and then when you go to sell, anything above that typically is what's taxable. I'm not even going to look at the score survey. I'm not going to look. I'm going to say it's 500.
That's generous.
That's
One, two,
really
three, four,
generous
five, six,
because he
700.
butchered
All
that.
right. I would say I was expecting 500 on that one. So that's a hard one to try to say what it is simply.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay,
I'll
Keali
sit here
Joe.
quiet now.
Yes.
Your term is step up in basis.
Great. So the step up in basis, when you calculate your capital gains, it's usually the fair market value of the asset, which is what it's worth today, minus the basis, which Jacob just described. Now, a step up in basis is when you died. Instead of having that gap in gain, your basis actually gets stepped up to the actual value of the asset, making it tax-free.
I should have gave an example like, hey, if I bought something
I
for
found
100,
that.
if I bought something for 100, sold it for
800.
200.
Yeah, you almost some of those you have to
I-
basis and step up in basis is hard.
It is.
Using the math, you kind of showing a math example probably is the easiest way to describe
That's
that.
what I did.
I know. That's why I should have done. I was trying to stay away from the math, but that's probably the easiest way to describe that one.
That's okay.
Okay, Troy, your term is tax loss harvesting.
You're so mean to Troy today.
That is. Can we? What did I do? I apologize. All right. So tax loss harvesting is kind of it's an advanced technique of a sort of semi-advanced technique where people will look at their portfolios, assuming that they have a portfolio, right, of different investments. Some of those investments will be a loss for the year, meaning that it's gone down in value. Some of those investments will be a gain for the year, right? And it's a technique to try to offset the losses with the gains. Right. So if I have gains and then I have offsetting losses, I can essentially reduce my taxes. So I'm using it just no, I'm not even going to give you that opening, but I try to offset gains and losses so that I can get my tax bill as close to zero as possible from selling the different investments in an investment portfolio.
No,
God, it's so hard.
I don't know. It's selling things that are in a loss position to kind of offset ones
1,000.
that offset gains.
Well, you won that round at least.
Hey,
And who lost that round?
That was me, 700. So in
Just by
one-
a hair. Okay. You're up again, Troy.
Okay, we're going to do 2 more rounds. So 1 more regular round, and then we'll go into the bonus round.
All right.
all right.
Okay. Troy, your term to define is capital gains.
Yay!
All right. So we talked about basis and we talked about step up in basis, but we don't want to go with her definition of step up in basis. Like, don't hold that against me. No, it was lower. Like I want to win
Because it's a more
this.
complex topic.
I understand that. So what am I doing again?
Capital gains.
Capital gains. All right. So you buy something and you have basis in it, and then you sell it if there's a gain. Like if there's a gain, and you held the property for longer than a year, it's considered a capital gain. If it's considered a capital gain. So it's that difference between where I bought it at and where I sold it at. And if I sold it for more, that's a capital gain, assuming I held it for longer than a year.
That's a long-term capital gain.
Well, it's still a capital gain.
Well, short-term capital gains are less than a year.
See, there you go. Well, a year or less.
A year or less.
For short term.
Sorry, you got me caught off. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1,300.
All right, there we go.
Good job.
All right. I needed that in the bonus round, though.
Okay, Keali Joe, your term is marginal tax rate.
Marginal tax rate is how much tax you pay on the next dollar you earn. So it's not your tax bracket, because your tax bracket is a flat dollar amount. But once you earn more money, then you end up having to pay sometimes less in taxes. So it's how much tax you pay on the next dollar that you earn.
I would agree. So
I think that's right. I know it's right.
9, 11, 12, 1,300.
it's kind of on that next.
It's
what bracket you're currently in for that next dollar to be taxed on.
Usually people's marginal tax bracket is not what they actually pay. That's what people don't get. Like usually I'm in the 22 or whatever the number is. I'm in the 22% bracket, but you didn't pay every dollar
On
of
22%.
tax at 22%.
1,300.
All right.
Okay, Jacob, your term is effective tax rate.
So perfect. That goes into Keali. Because Keali Joe was talking about marginal is getting taxed on, that next dollar, what it gets taxed at. Well, the income tax bracket is a progressive tax bracket. It starts at, say, 10%, then goes to 12, then 22, then 24. So the effective tax bracket is kind of your average tax rate that you pay for the dollars in those different brackets. So it's not just the highest bracket that you're in, but an average of it based on what your total is.
Take all the money that you made. Take a percentage of.
You have some tax at 10. You have some.
No.
1,400.
I'm saying take all the money that you made, take the actual tax that you paid. What's that percentage? That's your effective tax rate.
So, like you said, your
See,
your
why
effective
can I get that one? You guys understood that, right?
your effective is typically lower than your marginal. So.
We tied for last.
What?
All right, so going into the final round, Keali Joe 6,400, Jacob has 5,000, Troy has 4,900.
And this round's worth double.
Troy's not competitive. All right, let's lock in. Here we go. Let's go.
All right, Jacob.
Like you said, this is all the scoring
Score
subjective.
doesn't matter. It's not subjective until we're walking around. It's a good thing you're going on vacation, so I don't have to hear about it.
Okay, Jacob, your term is required minimum distribution.
All right, so if you have a tax deferred account that Keali Joe was talking about, like a 401k, an IRA, those are tax deferred dollars. At some point, you are going to have to pull out money out of those accounts. That's that required minimum distribution. Could be, depending on the age you're at, could be age 70, could be age 72, 73, depending on how old you were when that age is. But that's that minimum amount that you have to take out of those tax deferred buckets to satisfy the IRS requirement.
Survey says 2,400. Or, yep, that's double. 2,400.
Okay, Keali Joe, your term is qualified charitable distribution.
Absolutely. So the one that Jacob just talked about, the required minimum distribution, you have to take that and you have to be taxed on it. Well, if you don't want to be taxed on it, instead of taking it, give it to charity. Yes. Perfect score, 3,000.
I
See,
think
there's some caveats there.
That's what it is. You take your required minimum distribution, and instead of taking it, you give to charity.
But anyway,
Go on, tell me.
you can always enhance on that.
Go for it.
it's up to $1,000. It's up to $100,000. I mean, there's some caveats. You don't just give.
I'm just supposed to define it, not supposed to define the parameters.
Well, that's part of the definition, right?
No, if you want to make it really complex,
You mean if I want to actually understand it?
you want to understand like every single aspect of it.
Okay. Anyway, all right, come on, let's go.
If the producer may interject, she did give almost a word-for-word definition that I was given, so...
Really,
He
Cassie?
is
She
correct.
gave you a word-for-word definition. I wonder where she would have gotten that. I wonder.
All right, so
Sounds like somebody studied.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Okay, Troy.
All right.
Your term, final answer, is Roth conversion.
What'd you do to make them mad?
How am I going to explain that simply? Okay, so a Roth conversion is turning a traditional qualified account like a 401k, a traditional tax-deferred account like Keali Joe described earlier, where you're paying tax somewhere in the future. Turning that account into a Roth account, and a Roth account has some specific characteristics. When you pull money out of a Roth account, you do not pay income tax like you would in a tax-deferred account that Keali Joe has described. So when you change the tax-deferred account into a Roth account, you have to you have to pay the tax then, and once you've done that, it converts to a Roth account, and now when those dollars are pulled out of that converted account to a Roth, you won't have to pay income tax on it.
I think I will say too, like with, for especially when we're talking Roth conversions, all this information here, just general information, just education, not advice on any of the topics that we talked about, just providing some clarity to some of these terms, these jargon terms that we talk about. So just general information.
2,400.
Okay.
All right,
20.
Jacob, what's the final score?
Hold on, who won that round?
Me, I won it.
So we
tied again?
Yeah.
You tied for last.
Dang it.
So we tied. So all right. So Keali Joe somehow won this with 9,400. Jacob finished second at 7,400, and then Troy, sorry, you were 7,300. So
Cassie here again. Jacob actually had 8,100 points to end the game. He still finished in second place.
I'm not going to say a word.
that's all right. It's
All right, so points.
It's fine.
The points weren't that important. No, I'm not competitive at all. That is pardon my jargon. Can we define that? So hopefully we'll get some reaction. If you like that game, we'll certainly come back to it, because there's a whole bunch of terms and things that we can talk about that we take for granted that fits right into the whole aim of Future Focus, is making the complex simple. I think we can. Am I missing anything?
no, a little bit different format this time.
Yeah, it's
I'm
fine.
good. I'm good.
Yeah,
I had fun.
yeah, I bet you did.
I did.
Yeah, we're not giving you I'm just giving you the words and no definitions. You can figure it out.
Fine.
So, hey, all right. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for their, for your time and attention. One of the things that I always say at the end of Future Focus is make sure you like and subscribe down below, comment on the YouTube video. I will be able, I'm going to be able to say maybe 2-3 episodes from now to go out to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you regularly listen to your podcast. That's coming soon. So just go ahead and be on the lookout for that. Make sure you comment below. Remember, we do our listener episode every 5 episodes, so we really rely on your comments to shape the content. And we want to talk about what you want to hear.
And we rely on your comments to make Troy wear Crocs. Please comment below.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess. So what's the number?
I think we said 10.
10. If we get 10 user comment or listener comments, then I'll do the Crocs and Joe's bugling. Bo's juggling.
Joe.
and Bo's juggling. All right. So hey, thanks everyone for your time and attention. Have a great day. This has been Future Focus.